This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, it's Our Lifestyle Podcast, episode 309. It's ODB, and we're coming at you here from the Custom Car Show Productions compound. We want to thank CCSP Custom Car Show Productions for the continued support. Their flagship event every June in Biloxi last weekend, typically towards the end of June. Next year's the 21st anniversary. We hope that you guys will come out and join us in Biloxi in June. Also, there are two other events, Bayou Showdown the weekend before Thanksgiving in Slidell, Louisiana, and then, of course, late March, you have Orange Beach Invasion. That's down in Orange Beach, Alabama, arguably the best venue in the country for a car/truck show. Come on out. I believe the premium spots are sold out, but you can still register and come on down. That show, of course, is in conjunction with Robbie from Keg Media. So episode 309, I can't believe it's another week, and Mickety Mike the Mayor is still AWOL. I did get a smoke signal from someone that said that he was okay from the hurricane, which was good. But I do believe, we're on the verge of a dishonorable discharge. You know what I mean? For leaving his post. We are trying to rekindle things and kind of get back to where we were, but I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to happen. Haven't heard much from him. Must still be gallivanting around. We'll have to track him down. Now, if you're a new listener, we certainly appreciate you guys coming on board. Make sure you hit follow and or subscribe however you're listening to this podcast. And check us out on YouTube, dropping new content. I'll talk about some a little bit later in this episode that I recently dropped. Again, episode 309, and this one's going to be cool. We've got Mark Zitzer on, and Mark is a good dude. I met him at shows, Hardcore Mini Trucker. The audio is in the can, so to speak, and it came out really good. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. A guy that's got good ties to the late or mid-'90s with mini trucks. Hardcore Mini Trucker, been working on a truck a long time, and he's got other stuff, and we just talk about a lot. So good dude, stick with me. You may not know the name, but you will, of course, after you listen to the audio. That's going to be our key guest for this week. Episode 309 overview is brought to you by our family at Hammered Weekend Wear. We always talk about featuring real builds. Well, you can check those out, HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. You can purchase the shirts, banners, stickers, the combos, the hammered flannels, shorts, hats, accessories, you name it. Hammered Weekend Wear. That's HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. So the general updates, really, I want to piggyback off last week. You guys know I kept last week. I said I was going to keep it short. It wasn't like too short, but it was shorter than our normal segment with Mike and I. With the general updates, I did mention how I went out to California, and it was really an epic trip. Of course, coming back and then having the storm bearing down, I just wanted to let everyone know out there that many of you checked in, I'm sure, on your friends, family, the people on the scene that you know, and I certainly appreciate it. I'm not the best on jumping on Messenger, and I may have missed some messages, so if so, I apologize, but certainly I do see them, and we thank everyone, even though Mike's AWOL, on behalf of Mike and I, we do thank everyone for checking in. There's a lot of good people down here, and of course, with that storm, Ian, it did take the turn. I mean, Tampa, it's now been 101 years since they had a direct hit. And this one certainly seemed like it was going to be the big one. And that it was. I mean, it was a huge storm. For whatever reason, it turned a little bit. And it stood on the original forecast, I think. And it actually made landfall almost in the same spot as Hurricane Charlie, which I think was '04. So, crazy stuff. I mean, if you've seen... I don't know how much you're on social media, but I mean, if you've seen any of the photos and drone footage from down south and Arcadia and these different islands and things, dude, I mean, it just devastated. So it's a really tough thing. I just wanted to, again, thank everyone for checking in with us. And, of course, your friends and family down south, I heard Mike was okay. And I did see video from Naples, people that were towards the coast. And I mean, dude, you're talking, the Florida building code, when you're in certain flood zones, you have to build, a certain standard. If you ever go to the beach down here, you can tell the old houses versus the new. The old brick houses from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on, they're on the ground. All the other ones are built up. And you sometimes scratch your head going, well, why is all these houses, basically kind of like on stilts, right, is the way it looks. Well, it's because when that storm, when a storm comes in and that flood water, dude, stuff is torn to pieces. And again, I had a buddy, Bill Moss. He had sent me a video from one of his friends that lives coastal in Naples. And I'm telling you, you open that door and you kind of go down your stairs, which is that first floor where everyone parks. And, between a Land Rover and just all these cars that they had parked in there, I mean, it was just all up to the side glass of a Land Rover. I mean, that's high, water, in terms of the storm surge. So, again, the last thing that's on my mind is cars and trucks and things like that during a situation. It's always first and foremost family, getting out of there, being safe. So again, I wanted to, say hey to any of the listeners that were impacted. We're here in any way if we can try to help. And, some people have given to Red Cross and different things and whatnot. That all helps as well. But certainly that was one of the key updates. Now, when I came back, I had mentioned, I can't remember because it was like coming back that Monday. I got back late because the flight was diverted from Tampa to Orlando because the guy was about to land and he wasn't feeling it. It just was like, hey, the headwinds or something. I mean, I could feel it rocking some. So they diverted to Orlando. I've never flown, I don't think, from Tampa to Orlando or vice versa. It was only a 20-minute flight. They refueled, and then they waited a little while, and then they came back in the clear, and then we landed fine. So what I ended up doing, I had that Tuesday off already scheduled, just knowing coming back from California, one, I was potentially going to be exhausted, which I wasn't too tired. Number two, it was like, hey, if anything happened, from a flight delay perspective, I didn't want to, get home at midnight and then have to work, at 6, 7 in the morning. So I had Tuesday off and I was going to help Mom Duke. So when I got back Monday, I said to myself, hey, I need to sit down and hammer this episode out because that Tuesday we were running around crazy, cleaning the yard up of any loose debris, helping my mom, getting some sandbags, doing some of those things. So I recorded audio early on Tuesday to knock that bad boy out. Of course, I got to stitch it together, clean it up and whatnot. And so I may have forgot some stuff. So I wanted to cover a couple things. So number one, I really appreciate Ruben Arteaga, the Booka, and Jacob. They came and hung out at the Raddies event, and that was that Sunday event in Newport Beach, which I think is Balboa Island is what someone had explained. But Ruben was on a cruise, not a car cruise, but a ship cruise for about a week, and he came back, midday Saturday and had to kind of de-embark and do all that stuff. So, he was kind of tied up that day, which we kind of knew. And then by the time he got back, I was way down off PCH over at Rusty's place. Everybody was partying, doing the thing up. So Ruben goes, yo, Jay, I'm going to come through on Sunday. Cool. And so not only did Ruben come through, Jacob came through as well, his son, and earlier in the day, Chris from C&S Metalworks. So they came through. So Ruben's working there with Chris, of course. You guys know that. And, it was cool to see Chris come through. I got a chance to see his shop. During, God, what day was it? So that was Friday. I think I woke up and I gallivanted out of Riverside after I hung out with Jeff a little bit at Devious. And when I went by Chris's, it was really cool to see his Tahoe and the vehicles there and some of that. And I may have mentioned it last week, but I want to give a huge shout out to Chris. And I've said this before, but I mean, if you need air suspension parts or AccuAir or Universal Air, he's got a great relationship with these different companies. You can go to CS-Metalworks with an S, cs-metalworks.com. You can hit up CS Metalworks on Instagram or Facebook as well. Send them a DM. Chris said it goes down in the DM. Hit him up. He's a great guy. I mean, some of the projects there, I'm going to hopefully do a quick short video of some of the photos I took there it was really cool. And, Chris is a good dude. I've seen some amazing builds. And you'll remember Chris and Ruben and Ludacris, Powder Coating, and those guys kind of came together last year for the ice cream truck. That was at SEMA. And, man, it was awesome. It was supposed to be, I want to say this right, in the Luxor Wire Wheels booth. And then I think Luxor had pulled out, and that didn't end up happening, but they still were staged at SEMA, which was awesome. And that's just one of the coolest builds, in my opinion, to come out of any shop in the last while, because those little ice cream trucks are sick, and the theme of it, just amazing. We talked about that last year when we were at SEMA. But, again, I wanted to thank Ruben and Jacob for coming through. It was really cool to see them. Also, on Saturday, which was cool, when we were at Cruising for a Cure, man, I tell you what, I've been to a lot of car shows, and I forget if I mentioned this. That Cruising for a Cure, and really the car culture in general in California, is insane. Okay, when we got back by the time we dropped my rental car off that Friday, and I had asked Rusty, I said, yo, man, I got to drop my rental really Friday night because Saturday we're going to be tied up. He goes, yo, no big deal. So we leave the hotel, I don't know, 11:30, and we go to Gallivant over to John Wayne Airport. And, there's traffic even at night there. There's lanes shut down, all that crap. But we end up taking the car back. Then we're hungry. We go to In-N-Out Burger. And I feel like I just shared this story last week. But what ended up happening was we go to In-N-Out Burger. We stuff our bellies with all the poison, as I call it, man, all the grease. I love it. And what ends up happening is by the time we get back, we're looking at it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So for those scoring at home, I'd like to get a little bit of sleep, right? Everybody's, some of these guys are like, team no sleep and whatnot. I'm like, yo, man, I need a little bit of sleep. Okay. Cause when I'm awake, I'm running hard 100 miles an hour. So by the time we got back, it's like 1 o'clock, he's dropping us off, and he goes, yo, we're going to be here at 4. I'm like 4 in the morning, right? So he ended up saying, hey, we're going to get here between 4 and 4:30. They did. They got up. He probably got like an hour of sleep by the time he drove home. But we got up, and that morning when we peeled out of Huntington Beach Hotel, which was about 4:30 a.m., we got to OC Fair, which is where Cruising for a Cure is, and that event, how they had it staged for people coming in and the cones and the staff. It's literally pitch dark out. And everybody lines up. Everybody wants to get there early to get their spots. One of, if not the most well-organized event I've ever been to. And I was just a passenger in one of the cars, By the time we got there, everybody kind of had lined up. We all got out of the cars. We talked for a few minutes until they let us in. And then when we were laying out the cars and parking them, dude, it was like literally... the sun wasn't even coming up, which was sick. But it was cool to get there. They had this crew, man, the Raddies, they basically took and they had all the coolers full of drinks and sandwiches and everything. So, we all get there and we're hungry, and then we're basically eating lunch at 6, 7 in the morning, which my time, out east is, like normal time to maybe have, lunch. But so that was really cool that they did that. And then we had a really good spot. I got some GoPro footage. I haven't went through it. Did some kind of hyperlapse and some stuff like that of everybody cruising in. Hoping it came out okay to maybe put together a little video for YouTube. But I say all that because it was so enormous. I really didn't walk around. We had a great spot. And with Cruising for a Cure, they have a whole cruise lane in there. Almost like Lone Star Throwdown, right? Lone Star Throwdown, biggest, baddest truck show in the country, in my opinion. That event, you can do that cruise, that whole loop, I call it. Cruising for a Cure, they had the same thing, this big perimeter cruise deal pretty much right through the show. So, we plopped down in our chairs and, had our phones out. You guys saw some of the reels I did. I got to see Steel Flame with the newer owner from RA, some of the other RA guys. So that was pretty cool. I did also see Juan Trevino, so I wanted to give him a shout-out. I was talking with him briefly with his wife, and then Juan goes, yo, check it out. Look who that is. And I turned around, and I'm like, it was the back of a dude, and I'm like, who is it? And he goes, dude, that's John Gilbert. And I go, damn, it is. So we went over and we talked to John Gilbert. You'll remember possibly his name from Tailgate, and then, of course, his lineage back to Easy Rider. But of course, I recalled some stories with him when he was down south, back in the day, come to shows, and he'd bring a bunch of magazines and make sure everybody got their little promo copy, and there's just some cool stories of hanging out with him. And he goes, "Yo, can you guys give me a ride back to the hotel?" And we're like, "Sure." This California old school dude back 2002, 2003. We're like, "Sure, man." So we kind of had forged a relationship with John Gilbert back then, and we pointed out some trucks to feature, and he did, and they ran and that type of thing. So it was really cool that Juan had pointed out that John was standing like literally 10 feet from us, and he was covering the event for Holley. I think he had talked about how Holley, was some of that big transaction that they had with some of these bigger companies coming together. They've got, I think, online content or something, so he was out there snapping, still doing what he loves. And of course, we showed love to John and said, "Yo, man, what you guys created with Tailgate Magazine for all those years, a lot of that stuff is etched in our minds." If I post Tailgate, it's very similar to Mini Truck, and people say, "Damn, that was my stuff, man." So again, Juan, thanks for pointing out that he was there. I got to cruise with my buddy Josh, JDCRIZ, I think on Instagram. Josh is kind of an old Lincoln dude. I think he's younger than me. But we met through Lincoln's, and he came out to Clearwater one time, hung out with Boss Bolin and I. He was out here for work. Always kept in touch with him. He sold a couple Lincolns. They went to Dubai, and he's always had cool stuff. He actually had I think it was called Old Olive, featured in Street Trucks. It was that badass patina C10 that he bought online, and he did like all Porter built and just a crazy engine, and it was featured for Blood, Sweat, and Gears, I think it was. Just a badass truck. So he's always kind of ratcheted up, if you will, to the next thing he really wants. A couple convertible Lincolns, I think at least one, maybe two, maybe even a sedan in there. Then, the truck and a couple other things. Then he had a green hardtop 59 Impala, and then he leveled up from there to get a white 59 with red interior Impala, and we got a chance to cruise in that. So I'll probably never own a 59 Impala. I love those. I love the Invictas. But I will say that I got a chance to cruise in one at Cruisin' for a Cure, and it was just a great feeling. Chris was in the car, and I think Tony, was it Tony Boss Bolin? It was, I can't even remember now. I think it was Tony, Chris, and I. We had walked over there, and it just was awesome. I got a chance to see some of the Suicide Kings guys. A year ago, I know I'm talking some Lincolns here, but a year ago when I went out to NorCal, first time ever there, I was out there with Street Trucks, and we were covering C10 Intervention. I got a chance to meet a guy named Escalante, David Escalante, a real good dude, and my understanding now he's running the Suicide Kings. So they're one of the Lincoln clubs out of a couple. And believe it or not, I actually stayed out there with Richard Lund on Friday and Saturday night, and he's the guy that runs Suicide Slab. So Richard and I kind of go back to meeting in the early days when we were both on Instagram, and he's kind of built his whole little empire, if you will, with Suicide Slabs, and he's branching off and stuff. So I wanted to kind of mention some of that because I thought definitely value in some of those stories and kind of link it up with some good people. There were some other folks I met out there. Just really good. I met Barry McGuire from McGuire's. I got a chance to talk to briefly the dude that's on Wheeler Dealers, not the heavier set guy, but the younger guy that replaced the dude my wife calls Oompa Loompa Man because he would wear those big crazy gloves. So I think when the show maybe transitioned from over the pond to the U.S., that younger guy that was on there, I got a chance to meet him real quick. So it was cool. Saw Chris Jacobs. He was the Grand Marshal, I think, for that show. So bottom line is, Cruisin' for a Cure, I'm telling you, an amazing show. I wish I would have had more time to walk around. We had a great spot in the shade, by a cooler, and I got a chance to cruise in some badass Lincolns through the show and meet some good people. So it was a good time. I think that's all I'm going to cover. Well, the last thing for general updates, if you check out our YouTube channel, I hinted last week at something that ties into Dr. Dre, The Chronic, dropped 30 years ago, and I did a video documenting something that had never been covered relating that album. It ties into a lowrider, And it was pretty cool. I got a chance to make a connection with the guy that confirmed all of the intel. So I don't want to give it away. Please, if you get a chance, if you're at work and you have access to the internet, go on YouTube, check out Our Lifestyle Podcast, and look at one of our last videos that ties into the Chronic. I think you guys will appreciate the hustle and the determination on the story, even if you're not a hip-hop fan. So check it out. The general update's brought to you by Joey at Get Decked. If you have a photo or artwork that you want to put on a skate deck, now you can do it. You can hit up Joey at Get Decked. He's on Instagram or Facebook. The best way I can describe it, on Instagram, I said this last week, go to the little search, type in Get, and you'll see Get_Decked VA. That is Joey Dilworth. It goes down in the DM, hit him up, and he can take care of you if you're a show promoter and you want to take that artwork that you're getting from Graphic Disorder, possibly, and you want to put that on some skate decks, maybe for your Best of Awards, or to ramp up your merchandise. Hit up Joey Dilworth. He takes care of us, and all of our skate decks do come from Joey, so we appreciate what he does. Next, the last episode recap. This one's quick, man. So Dion, I did give him a heads up that we were going to rerun his audio. That was from 2018. I didn't really position it as a best of because typically people will see it and go, I've already heard it. And we have so many new listeners and people that maybe haven't went back. So I kind of baked in some of my ODB's trip over to Cali, and I also included Dion's audio, and Dion said, thanks, man, which was really cool, to get the nod from those guys. And I would encourage you, if you love mini trucks or you like the history of mini trucks, go back and listen. Arguably one of the biggest, baddest shops ever to come out of, not just the scene. They were around before the scene, but their contributions to the scene, to mini truck scene, is just endless. So go out there and check it out. The last episode, 308, featuring Dion from Cow Concepts. He owns Cow Concepts. He owned the Last Look. He owned the S10 that was on the cover with the airplane. Just a good dude. Check it out. Last episode recap. Brought to you by the fine folks over at Lone Star Throwdown. We hope that you will join us next year. LST 2022 is for short, but LoneStarThrowdown.com. If you check out, as of the time of this recording, 141 days, 12 hours, 13 minutes, and 0 seconds until the event in Conroe, Texas. And again, if you look it up, it's the 24th through the 26th. Sure, you may see that the 2023 registrations are sold out. That doesn't mean that you can't come to the show and enjoy and have a good time. All right, next we got trivia with Mike, and even with Mike gone, I'm going to ask you guys this question. So it's a honor system. Kind of ties into the movie Clerks. If you love Clerks, the honor system. And trivia with Mike. So here's the question.
Now it's time to get serious.
What is the name of the first commercial Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre song that dropped back in 1992? It's not a trick question, but some people may say it is a trick question. The only hint that I'm going to give you is it's not available to stream. It's not available to stream. So what was the name, title, whatever you want to call it, for the first Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg song that dropped back in 9 Deuce? Let's see if you guys can get it. And again, just something a little bit fun since Biggity Back the Mayor is still out gallivanting. We want to thank AccuAir for the continued support. Again, you can go to AccuAir.com. You can submit photos of your vehicle if you have AccuAir on it. You go under AccuAir Life. And you could also give photo credit to the to whoever shot the photo. So you just go to AccuAir Life and then get featured. They also have merchandise, keychains, stuff like that, stickers you can pick up, AccuAir.com. Arguably the best air management in the history of air management. All right, scene updates. I don't have a lot to share here. I will tell you, last week I covered Mini Nats. In Mini Nats, the pre-submissions did start on 10/1. I'm sure people stayed up overnight to do it. I tell you what, it was flawless. They used Google Forms. So whoever set that up with Jason Bell, they did a great job. It was very easy. And the cool thing is you don't pay at that time. You submit, and then they go through. We've kind of covered this, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. They'll go through. There's no really rhyme or reason They'll let in a percentage of different, types of vehicles and whatnot, and it's not first come first serve. So it's very well done, and it's a way. Even though everyone can't get in with the registration, it is a way for them to make sure that it doesn't get too overwhelming there at the show. They limit it to about 750 vehicles, and you can still submit if you go to Mini Truckin Nats.com. It's on the far right in the purple, across the middle, MTN 2023 pre-reg. Hit them up. We hope to see you out there. It's the last... Well, let me say it like this. It's the 21st through the 23rd, April 2023. I don't care where you are in the world, that's going to be the spot for Mini Truckin. It's the best mini truck show I've ever been to, and I would argue it's the best mini truckin show in the world. Come out, gallivant out to Maggie Valley, North Carolina. We'll be there. So that's all I'm going to cover this week. The scene updates are brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. We do talk a lot about our sponsors. GarageGearClothing.com, the unique thing about them, they offer free shipping in the US of A. Okay, so all USA orders, hit them up. They're also at shows, but I tell you what, they support the scene. They have the Garage Girl merch. They have the stuff for the guys, including a shirt with a Chevelle, a mini truck, a sport truck, a full-size truck. But they also have the kids on lock in terms of content, or youth, rather, I should say. They have the kids locked down with the youth gear. So check them out, GarageGearClothing.com. Okay, the key show updates. Man, this is one of my favorite segments. There's not a lot for us to really talk about. I'm laying low for the next several weeks. I've got the anniversary of my dad's passing, unfortunately, and, I love my pops. It's been 5 years, and you guys hear him at the beginning of every episode of OLP. He introduces Biggity Mike, the mayor, and ODB, and I was so thankful that he had done that, that he did that. So I'm going to lay back. I've said I'm going to slow down in some areas, and that includes going to shows. And, I'm just going to focus on really what matters, with family and health, and spending some time with my mom and helping her with some things I got to do. So I'm not going to be at any shows possibly, I don't want to say the rest of the year, because Mike is going to go to Bayou Showdown. I am planning to go to Turkey Rod Run. So Turkey Run, whatever you want to call it, but we all call it Turkey Rod Run. I am trying to plan to go to that because my born day is that Wednesday, and then Thursday's Thanksgiving, then Friday's Black Friday, and then boom, that weekend. So it should be a long weekend. I am hoping to go out there, but what you basically have here is in 2 weeks from this airing, so the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd of October, that's going to be Last Resort. So we had the team on earlier this year, and we talked a little bit about their show. You can go to lastresortshow.com for more information, and that is in Jennings, Louisiana, so check them out. Laying at the Lake is the 11th, 12th, and 13th. That's also on the OLP calendar at the Salmon Lake Park, Grapeland, Texas, right? So I always say that word, Salmon. But it's in Grapeland, Texas. That's what you need to know. Laying at the Lake, or layingatthelake.com is the website. A week from there is going to be the 19th and 20th. That's Biggity Bayou Showdown. So Bayou Showdown's at the Harbor Center, Louisiana. I mentioned at the top, that's out in 70461 area code if you're around there. They do have a Facebook event page. I think that's the key information. I don't think they have an Instagram anymore. Now, that event I cannot make it to because we're going to be doing our 5th annual Tampa Kennedy Cruise in Tampa. It's open to all makes and models. The Lincolns will lead the way, and we're going to meet at 10 a.m. to kind of mingle a little bit at Dick's Sporting Goods in the parking lot off off of West Shore. We are going to cruise down Bayshore later in the day. So, we're looking at about 10. We meet up. We hang out maybe about an hour. We peel out. We do a cruise that's going to last about an hour to 2 hours, depending on a couple stops. And then for those that want to meet up and go to lunch, then we are planning to have that all nailed down for folks that don't want to eat they can, of course, peel away, which will be great. Now, someone had told me the other show that I believe is back on this year is a song that I think of the DOC, which was the last song that NWA recorded together, but the grand finale. So my understanding is that's in Houma, Louisiana, and that's the grand finale on Facebook. It's December 10th and 11th. The 9th, 10th, and 11th. So if you go on Facebook and type in the grand finale, I need to add that one to the list. That is the 9th, 10th, and 11th, and you can find more information there. So there's one more that we're going to add to the list. I think other than Turkey Rod Run, I'm not going to cover that. You guys know about that show. That's here in Daytona, or in the Daytona area, rather, across the state for me. But that's kind of it. Now, some folks have asked, hey, ODB, when are you going to add the 2023 shows to the calendar? And I have been slacking a little bit on that. I do need to sit down and do that. I know Eastbound Get Down is going to be, if I go on Facebook and type in Eastbound Get Down. So that's Eastbound is one word and Get Down is another word. That's going to be in January, and that's sponsored by Stingray Chevrolet, and that is the pre-registration's open, but that's January 21st through the 23rd at Destination Daytona Complex in Ormond Beach, which is right on the outskirts of Daytona. So, that's a show I need to add. The LST, Orange Beach Invasion, Scraping the Coast, Bayou Showdown, Mini Nats, all of those shows. And then we also need to touch base and find out what's going to happen with Mini Truck Showdown. So, I know Mini Truck Showdown, that had gotten canceled for this year, which was an unfortunate thing. That's actually going to come up when I talk with Mark a little bit later. And then I know they had their other event in Bakersfield that was going to be next February, so we got to get more information on that, and then we'll make sure we tap in and let you guys know what's up there. The Key Show Updates is brought to you by the West Coast Influence. If you didn't know, now you know. You can go to minitruckfilm.com and order the Blu-ray or DVD. Trust me, buy it for your significant other or buy it for yourself. The West Coast Influence documents how Mini Truckin' grew out of the West Coast. It's really cool. Add it to your collection and visit minitruckfilm.com. The podcast updates, this one's short. All of the pre-sale merch for the Mini Truckin' inspired original shirt, stickers, banners, all of that stuff has shipped. Now, I will tell you, I do believe a few people ordered the skate decks, and we do need to get with Joey and have those finalized so that we can get those and send those out. So if you ordered a skate deck, please just give us a little bit more time. You can visit ourlifestylepodcast.com. If you love Mini Truckin' as much as we do, you need to get your hands on this shirt before they're gone. We are not planning to reprint any of these. There's stickers. There's OLP themed stuff. There's a couple of colors available, and there's a good amount of sizes. Not a lot, but there's a decent amount of sizes left. Hit us up, ourlifestylepodcast.com. Remember, we've been doing this podcast over 7 years, and we're 4 years straight every Friday, so we appreciate all the love that we get from the merch sales. That helps kind of fuel the fire, if you will, for what we do here. It helps us pay for the stuff we've got to pay for. The website, the hosting of the podcast, all of that stuff, it adds up, and we can't thank you guys enough. So hit us up, ourlifestylepodcast.com, and order some merch today. Even if it's just a sticker, it all helps. And then last but not least, the Airhead Nation updates. I really don't think I have a lot to share here, only because, being totally honest, I haven't been on Facebook as much, and really I haven't been on Instagram as much. You'll see that I have backed off a little bit on posting, just because, you can post, but Facebook, just the way it works, is the stuff doesn't always get pushed, to people to see. So, a lot of times I kind of feel like I'm spinning my wheels in terms of just posting and putting these crazy captions and the dates and all this stuff. If you want to help us out, you can turn on post notifications, but the amount of time and effort that goes into scanning the photos and posting them, and then it's just a lot of effort. So I'm scaling back a little bit there and ramping up YouTube and here on the podcast. But I will say I want to give a huge shout out to Frank Eisenhower, a.k.a. Iceman. Frank, we got to get him back on. Love when he comes on and gives us updates, but he was selling a badass red Toyota, or as my dad would say, a Toyota. And he's selling this, and he says it's for the low price of $54.95. So it's a 22 RE 5-speed, cold AC. Drove it over 500 miles last weekend. Dude, Frank's a good dude. I don't know if it's sold yet, but it's ICENHOUR. Hit him up if you're looking for it. So that's the Airhead Nation update for this week. I want to thank Graphics Mafia. If you need stickers or decals, or if you need to take maybe re-up some old stickers that you had for your merch business, or maybe you have an old decal that you want to reproduce, please trust us, GRAPHIX, Mafia.com. That's Graphics Mafia. You can hit them up. Talk to Buddy or Ryan. They'll take care of you. They are, of course, at a lot of shows. They print on demand. But just hit them up. Let them know what you need. They'll take care of you. Let them know that OLP sent you. I think that's it. A little bit shorter. I thought it was going to be even shorter, but of course, I talked and talked and talked. Stay on the rise. Thank you guys so much. Leave a rating if you can on iTunes/Apple Podcasts. Tap the 5 stars, and it really helps us out. Enjoy this audio from Mark Zitzer. Great dude. Lord willing, we'll hit you guys next weekend. And if you're going to be at a show this weekend, have fun. Tag us in the post. We'd love to see it. And stay on the rise. We out you. Peace. Yo, I'm so excited. I have been talking about earlier in this episode having Mark Zitzer on, and I'm super stoked. Mark, man, thank you so much for coming on, and how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, ODB. How are you and the Airhead Nation doing?
Dude, everyone's good, man. So, man, dude, it's really cool to sit down with you because, we met at – I know we met at Scraping the Coast, but I think it was two shows at least for some reason. But
yeah. Scraping the Coast was the first time I saw you.
Was it Mini Nats, the next one?
And then I saw you at Mini Nats and LST one year
and
too.
LST.
Yeah.
Yep, LST. Yep. Dude, our 2 or 3 of our big shows. Look at that, man. We're cutting promos, not even knowing we're doing it.
Yeah, those are all good ones for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And dude, like I said, it's you've been a huge supporter of the podcast. We can't thank you enough. But I've seen your hustle and determination not only with trucks, with magazines. I mean, we got a lot to talk about, but just, man, I'll kind of ask you, like, how you been?
Man, I'm good. I'm just, living the life and working hard and doing the family thing, and then trying to squeeze in time for trucks and shops and things.
Yeah, when you really look at it, the fun stuff you like to do with the normal family obligations, as I call it, the wife, the significant other, the kids, the softball games, the baseball games, whatever, all that stuff. There's a lot, as people that we do, right? So it's cool to be able to, like you said, spend some time and do the things you like, but it is definitely a balance. But I kind of was curious, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you grew up and, who's Mark Zitzer?
Sure. I grew up in suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, Des Plaines, and then Buffalo Grove. I went to high school in Buffalo Grove High School in 9th grade. From there, the funny thing I got in mini trucks is growing up in Chicago, I didn't really know what a truck was for, honestly. So, but going into 10th grade, my mom and I moved to Roland, Oklahoma, which is on the border of Arkansas. Went to high school in Roland, Oklahoma for 3 years. And then that's really when I started getting in mini trucking. When I was 16, I was driving my mom's 1990 Jean-Claude Grand Dammit around Fort Smith, Arkansas. And, I started to have a little pocket money, started to look at buy my own vehicle. And I drove by this used car dealership that had this 1990 Mazda B2200 Cab Plus.
Dang.
Don't offend the Mazda people and call them an extended cab. It's a Cab Plus.
Mike Murray, when he had him on all the time, he was calling them extended cabs. Like, oh, Mike, you're digging yourself a grave, man.
Yeah. No, and he's still out gallivanting around, I guess.
Yeah, he's gallivanting, man. He's out. Dude, we can't get a hold of him, so there's a whole nother story to that.
Okay, all right, we'll keep posted on that. But yeah, so this Mazda, like I said, I wasn't in the trucks, and it just something about this truck. It was snow white, had tinted windows. It was already lowered a little bit. This is 95-ish, so it was just lowered on blocks, 3-inch blocks, and it had an old school splatter frame paint job that was all crusty and coming off and everything, but and it had some old neon under there that the salesman guy told me about, but they didn't even work. But I had to have that truck. It was just speaking to me, so made a deal for that truck, and ever since that moment, I've just been in mini trucking, and to me, mini trucking's about the people you meet, and as silly as it sounds, that truck, has made a lot of friends for me. Some, friends that I've had more than half my life now.
Dude, what a great story. And so many of us will remember, I'm sure the listeners too, going to car lots, looking in, like I've said in the past, Auto Trader, going, wow, and when you're younger, you're often like, man, I don't have enough money to buy a stock truck and, put several $100s here, several $100s there. So it makes it very appealing to go, man, this thing's lowered. Maybe some low pros, maybe some offset wheels, whatever, was kind of the rage in that era. But we came up kind of in the similar era, similar age and things like that. Going back to high school, though, was it tough, like, having the 1 year under your belt there and then moving to a different school? Like, what was that whole dynamic?
Oh, yeah, just going from, big city Chicago to small town Roland, Oklahoma. I think there's like 3,500 people, and there was one stoplight. I remember the big sell from my brother and sister are actually quite a bit older than me, and they lived in Oklahoma their whole life for the most part. So they're already here, and that's a big reason why we moved from Chicago down to Oklahoma to link that together. But I remember the big sell was that there was an Olympic-size pool there, and when I got to the little town with this Olympic-size pool, and it was just like a normal little rectangle concrete pool that I couldn't believe that that's what they thought was so special for me to get excited about. But it was different. It was really different going from a area, suburbs of Chicago, that you pretty much had anything in walking and riding distance. I used to, I know this is a Mini Truckin inspired podcast, but I also know you like your BMXs, and back in Chicago, and I still have it. I rode my 1995 Dyno D-Air all around town up there, but
dude,
moved down to Roland, Oklahoma. There's only so many places you can ride your bike around to, so it was quite a bit different. I was a little bit of a different kid, I guess, compared to the southern kids, and but I made friends and got, I played sports and made a bunch of friends, and then the trucking stuff came, and I met a bunch of other people into the scene, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. We can think back to riding bikes and things like that, but yeah, different dynamics. My buddy Tony Boss Bolin, he grew up in the greater Chicago area, and he talked about riding with these little bike gangs. They were riding everywhere and stuff, and then you go out to Oklahoma, and it's probably a lot warmer and just different atmosphere. So I could definitely see that. When you're talking about the pool, it made me think of, I was watching some videos the other day about, I love the movie filming location stuff on YouTube. And one of the guys I follow, he was watching, or he was where they had filmed The Sandlot, some of those, where the actual baseball field's at. But I always think about the pool scene, and that was filmed at like a community pool in Ogden. And, it's crazy how, these like little movies that, that like we appreciate, especially for me, or like the memories that you have with the bikes, how you can almost go back and relive those memories, whether you own the bike still, or, you go and you watch like people on YouTube go, hey, yeah, I'm here, right here. That's where the baseball field is. And you look and you go, man, that little dumpy backyard was like where they filmed the movie. But it's just the way it goes, man.
Yeah, I've seen the movie culture things you keep up with. I don't know how you keep up with it all, but I do happen to like a lot of those movies too. Back to the Future, Karate Kid, those are a couple of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be cool. And I saw earlier on social media that Ralph Macchio, he's going to be on Jimmy Fallon tonight. So I was like, I'll have to tune into that on YouTube tomorrow. I don't stay up that late. Friends will be texting me late, and the next morning I get up pretty early, and early for me. And I'm like, I don't want to text them, the next morning because it's like, man, I went to bed early, man. So I'm getting old, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about the Mazda. Like, do you end up keeping the Cab Plus a while, pimping it around, high school days? Like, what was the manifestation there?
Sure. Yeah. So I picked it up. It was lowered. It did have 15-inch reverse center lines. Okay. Which at the time were kind of the norm, I guess. I drove it around like that for a little bit, and not really knowing what I'm doing yet with the mini truck stuff. It's all new to me. I started getting Mini Truckin Magazines back then, of course, and that's kind of how I started learning a little bit. First thing I did was get a system. I put 215s in the bed and had them ported through the cab.
Nice.
So that was the first move, and then one night cruising around with my buddies, I had my first and only accident I ever had. And,
wow.
I guess the brakes on the Mazda weren't as good as my buddy's. He was cruising his Isuzu, or Isuzu as you call it.
Right.
And he stopped at a stoplight, and I guess I didn't stop as fast, and I rear-ended him.
Dang.
And good thing for him is he got a nice, cool, roll pan out of it.
Yep,
and fixed his up a little bit in the back. And then I saved, of course, I just had, I didn't have full coverage at the time, just punk teenage kid, and saved up my pennies. And this is kind of when I really started getting into it, though. So it's kind of looking back at it, it was a good thing that I almost got that little fender bender, because what I did then is since it was the front that I got in an accident, I went and got new bumper, new grill. And I got, even at that time, it was 95, 96, maybe 97. It was kind of old school at the time, but I got that floating Mazda grill that has a floating piece in the middle. It was probably early 90s, but, I didn't know anything yet. So I picked it up, put some purple neon behind it. I hooked up with a guy that's an OG from California. His name's Alan Ladd. And we're buddies today, but he's from California.
Name for some reason, Ladd.
Yeah, and he has a little shop in Van Buren, Arkansas. He relocated from California, and somehow somebody told me about him, and I met with him, and he's like, "Yeah, man, let's do something cool." And we talked, and we're trying to figure out what kind of paint job to do, and not having the whole bunch of money to put into it. But knowing that we're going to do the front, we decided on doing a scallop paint job just for the cab, and kind of flipped through Mini Truckin Magazines, trying to come up with some ideas, and stumbled on a truck that I really liked, and we thought we can kind of use it quite a bit. And I'm forgetting his name, Cox, I think is his last name.
Was it Kevin Cox? No.
I should have got his name.
No, no, it's fine. So was he from the Oklahoma area?
No, it was just a random truck I saw, a Mini Truckin, but I think he's out west. But it was a white and purple truck.
Oh, Michael Cox, I think.
Yes, that's
yeah, because he's the one. He's since passed away. Rest in peace to him.
Yes, and actually one of the coolest things is a few years ago when I realized, social media has kind of changed the game.
Yes,
you can kind of reach out and get to know a lot of people that, and so much easier these days than it was when I first got into this. So when I stumbled on his name on that truck on one of the Facebook pages we're all on, and I reached out to him, and I got to tell him that his truck inspired my Mazda, and I shared it with him, and we chatted up for a little bit, and it was really cool. And then unfortunately, I know he passed away a year or two after that, and but he seemed like a really good guy, really nice, and it was really cool to be able to tell him that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, man. Giving people, those guys that kind of inspired us, like what they say in hip hop, give the guys the flowers while they're here. We just lost, Coolio, rest in peace to him, 59. Kind of collapsed in the bathroom and stuff, and you just see that. But whether it's a Sean Mahaney, a Michael Cox, and some of these OG guys, it's good for us to kind of give them their flowers and be like, yo, you inspired me. So cool, man.
Yeah. From there, I guess purple was kind of my thing. So I did the purple neon behind the grill and the purple neon gear shift knob. That was cool.
Yep.
I put purple carpet in the bed. The whole bed was purple carpet. So that was probably about it. And then went to the 17s. Upgraded some 17s. Got them tucked in, and that was about it for the Mazda. Didn't really get too crazy on suspension or anything at that point, but with the Mazda, I met up with a really cool group around the Fort Smith area. We started a club called Grounded Concepts. We're kind of decently known in the region, I'd say. The Oklahoma and Texas region and things like that. But I was one of the original members of that club that we put together. Had a lot of fun, met a lot of friends. Shout out to some of the OGs of the club. Do you mind if I give them a shout out?
Yeah, please, man.
Tim Rogers, Ricky Smith, Jason Wade, Josh Fleetwood, you may know as a photographer of Mini Truckin. I knew him before his famous photography days. Lee Smith, Charlie Sainer, Jay James, Mark Morrison, Aaron Fleetwood. Those are some of the OGs of the Grounded Concepts crew back in the day.
Hell yeah, dude. That's like a real homie roll call right there.
Oh, yeah. I came prepared.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, it's so funny, too, when you think about, when you said 17s, I think about, like, hip-hop songs, right? You can think about the progression of, like, where minis were at and just custom cars in general. But it's funny. I think back to one of my favorite songs. It was The Brat and Notorious B.I.G., and it's called The Dirty B-Sides, right? And it was funny. It was on the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence movie soundtrack. What was it? The cop movie they were in? I'm drawing a blank. But it was on that soundtrack.
Bad Boys?
Bad Boys, thank you. It was on that soundtrack, but it was always the clean version, which was so weird, and it took forever for the dirty B-side to ever come out. But she has a verse on there, or the end of her verse, where she says, the Rolex is Barbade, Parkade, B to the RAT, but she says rolling off swole on Chrome 17. And it was like, that was like the big wheels back then. I mean, I had 17, so I felt like I was on top of the world, But it's funny how you can put like, that size wheel, that era, to like the music and everything, because it was just, that's the way it all kind of came together.
Yeah, you can kind of think about the era and the year of your truck, and you can piece it together on about the time frame just by what you had done to your truck.
Oh yeah, well, and it's also cool too because you're talking about the purple colors and neons and stuff. Like that stuff was so big, like the 80s. You could even argue into the mid to even late 90s, and for a lot of us, we got older, and like all that stuff was like just kind of past, right? But now a lot of us get back, to our roots, and we're like, dude, like, the pink tweeds and the purple tweeds and just the colors and the bikes, all that stuff from, the early 80s to the, the mid 90s, right up to the mid-school bikes. Like all of that stuff is like back, the colors and everything. So, as you're talking about the truck, I'm going, I got some ideas for my 90 Mazda.
Yeah, I think we owe you some praise for some of that. I think OLP and some guys like you putting this stuff together is exactly why some of that stuff is coming back again. And, what was cool back then and it's retro now, and it's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate the good word. I view a lot of these 80s Instagram accounts and stuff, and it's crazy the stuff that people dig up and the memories and stuff. But, the bike stuff has exploded, and it's really cool to see and just be a part of it, if nothing else. But, so, like, whatever ended up, my thing, so you're talking about this badass truck. I'm like, man, I want this thing. Whatever ends up, what ends up happening with the Mazda?
Well, the Mazda, like I said, build-wise, that's about as far as it went. It was getting up there in miles, and I ended up, I went to University of Arkansas, graduated from University of Arkansas, and moved to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yep.
Took a job in Little Rock I've never been to Little Rock before, but took the job in my career choice, and been doing that ever since. So it's worked out great. But moved to Little Rock. It was kind of out on my own a little bit. Didn't have my club buddies, and I knew a few people around, but nothing wasn't quite the same. And then with the Mazda getting a little up there in age and miles and stuff, I kind of needed something a little more reliable.
Yep.
So it kind of got put to the side for a little bit, and I got a couple daily drivers. I had a '99 Honda Civic for a little bit, and but then one cool thing I forgot to mention is that I'm getting to my next project that I still have today is my '95 Nissan Hardbody.
Yeah, buddy.
But my Hardbody was actually my mom's for a little bit.
Dang.
When I had my Mazda, I'd go to shows with my buddies, and my mom always thought she was the coolest mom in the world, and she was. She wanted a mini truck of her own. So I kept my eyes out. She gave me a budget to go find a little mini truck for her, and we ended up picking up this Nissan Hardbody in '95. I guess we got it like in '98 or '99 for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then within a month we had it. She wanted it lowered. She had chrome fender trim on it. She had clear taillights. She wanted the stock stickers taken off, and then she would go to some shows with us, and it was pretty cool. Looking back at it, that was her way of trying to relate to me at the time, I guess.
Yeah, and trying to participate and stuff like that. And you probably have some good memories, man.
Oh yeah, it was cool. The one thing that wasn't cool about it though is I pretty much had to detail 2 trucks for each show at that point. Which I got a little old, but it was definitely cool. And then my mom actually passed that Nissan on to me, which is the Nissan I have today that I'm on and off working on.
Yeah, and that's been kind of a long-term project, but I see that you're kind of seeing some of the light at the end of the tunnel. So we know that's gonna come to fruition here in the near future.
Oh yeah. We're near the finish line this time.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about like how that project, like when you end up getting it handed down from Mom Duke, right? Rightfully so. Like, were you driving it kind of as a daily? Was that one of your other dailies, or what was the deal?
Yeah, I'd say it started off as a daily, and then of course you get the itch,
Yeah.
And then I wanted to take the Nissan to the next level. By this time, airbags are starting to kind of be the norm, and so I wanted to go to the next level with the Nissan, and for good and bad, I kind of went too hard, too fast, and that's why I'm still working on it. 22 years later is just never kind of had bigger thought process on it, and then I had the means to finish sometimes, But from there, one of my club members, Tony Hopkins. We went to work on it, and he put the first airbag setup on it for me. Bagged it front and back, and then did some body work, shaved it all around, and then that's kind of where it stopped because we primered it, and back in this day and age, or early maybe 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
It was cool to just go leave it a primer color.
And rock
so
it.
It's it's a lot easier to take care of, but it was primer yellow most of the time. Initially we started with pink primer, but then when we did a full primer job, we did yellow, and then it just kind of, I didn't have the money or skill to paint it myself, so it kind of stayed at that level for a little bit, and actually that's when I was in Fayetteville going to college, and had it shaved, and Cali combo in the back, front, back, side to side. It was manual valves, but I had side to side. We set up this monster valve setup in the cab where it took up pretty much almost the whole bench seat. But I hit my side to side with my manual air valves.
Hell
cool.
Yeah, rolling in the hard body with 16 switches. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
dude, I love it.
Yeah, converted both of them to 5-lug, get some better options of wheels at the time, and transferred to 17s over from the Mazda did. Got rear-ended in Fayetteville. Actually, I guess I lied earlier when I said the only accident. I guess I meant the only accident I caused. But then at college, I got rear-ended, and this was my Cali combo and stuff. And then, kind of use that money, that insurance money to, pay the bills for a little bit. And that's kind of why the project got dragged on a little bit. But
and that's what happened. So did it kind of just get stashed there at the crib, and it kind of followed you if you ever did move, like as an adult?
Yeah, so I showed it for a few years under construction. I did pretty well under construction for a couple of years, but I think there's a rule. I think there should be on how many years you can show under construction. So
no, man, we're mini truckers, man. Come on, that's the last little thing we got.
Yeah, but it pulled a couple decent awards. I won best under construction at Spring Bash in Lawton, Oklahoma. That's a big show around the area, and then. The club Intense Gravity.
Yep.
At one point, they had a show they put on in Russellville, Arkansas, and got best under construction there. A few years in, probably about 2003, I sent the truck down to a shop in Texas called Erratic Trends.
Okay.
Just east of Houston a little bit. I forget the exact name of it. It's not Conroe. I know that's where
LST is. Yeah, we can't wait for LST next year, man. I keep telling people fly in, drive in, Galavan in, whatever you got to do. Last weekend in February, we'll be out there in Conroe holding it down. We might even slip over to the In-N-Out Burger over. God, I think it's somewhere in the outskirts of Dallas or some shit. Michael was from
around there now.
Yeah.
The city that Erratic Trends was in was Beaumont, Texas, and I got a crazy story to tell you on this one.
Okay.
So I sent my truck down to Beaumont, Texas. A buddy of a buddy had a shop down there. I didn't directly know him, but a buddy at the time knew him. And we sent it down there, and they're going to do a crazy cantilever setup for me. And honestly, at the time, I mean, this is early 2000s. It was kind of ahead of its time. It was a crazy setup. I'll send you a picture of it if you haven't seen it before. But
okay.
That's what kind of got the best of under construction awards was the crazy suspension setup it had at the time for a while. But the problem with that setup, as crazy as it was and as much attention as it got, the angles were never quite perfect. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing a cantilever setup, ideally it should get some really big lift, right?
Yep.
And this didn't even lift like normal. So something wasn't quite right on the angles. So it never really got to see its full potential with that setup, although it got a lot of looks at the time.
Got it.
But the crazy story on this, I fly down to go pick the truck up in Beaumont, Texas. I get there, pick up the truck.
And you were going to drive it home or trailer it home?
Oh man, I was a kid. I couldn't afford a trailer at the time.
Right. We're talking the Nissan, right? That had been kind of under construction and stuff like that. Like you weren't playing around. You're like, yo, I'm flying down and I'm driving home.
Yeah. Yep. I did have a buddy in Houston, so I flew to Houston and we went to Beaumont together. Picked it up, middle of the night. Came and stayed the night at his place in Houston. I get up the next morning to drive back to Little Rock, Arkansas, and as I'm leaving his house in Houston, I'm on some highway, and all of a sudden the 4-link bolt comes out.
Oh shit! And
I'm half sideways on the highway in Houston. Luckily, I didn't get any wreck or anything, but it was pretty scary there for a minute. Pulled off the highway. I'm in a pretty shady part of town. And I get out, take a look to assess what's going on. I figured out the bolt's gone. Well, then I try to get back in my truck, and I forgot that I have shaved handles, and my popper wasn't working though.
Oh shit!
Dude. So I'm in the shady
windows
part.
Are up.
Yeah, windows are up. So luckily, I had a Lexan window that wasn't the tightest fit in the back. So I was able to pop off the Lexan window. And I got a big screwdriver, and I used this big screwdriver to hold my 4-link in. And then I limped over. I found a shop that was willing to help me out a little bit.
Damn. And you were by yourself. I mean, at least it was in the cell phone era. Do you remember if you had a cell phone?
Yeah, so it was barely the cell phone era.
Yep.
I did have a cell phone, but I probably had like It was probably in the day when like I had 200 daytime minutes.
Right. You know, like 10 texts, 25-cent Willie deal.
But this is where the story really gets cool, man. And I hope that anyone listening to this has some friends that are as good to them as the friends that I've picked up through the years through this mini trucking stuff. I guess a couple of my close friends that I guess I used a few of my minutes, and I was talking with them, and they could sense how nervous and worried I was.
Yeah, because you're far from home. You're kind of in a crazy area.
Yep. And I'm driving up from Houston to Little Rock, and also because the suspension was kind of weird, I ended up tightening it all down. So because I was worried things were going to fall apart again. I got this new fresh thing. If my four link's popping out, what else is going to pop out? So I tightened everything down. So my suspension in the back at this point is not really working properly, but I felt better that it was tightened up. But it was a heck of a ride going home. I make it to Northeast Texas, and I find some hotel, and I literally had to use change to pay for this hotel room, because I didn't have a credit card or debit card at the time.
Yep.
But I scrounged up enough change to pay for a hotel room, and this is when I guess I was talking about with my good buddies. My good buddies are Charlie Stainer and Rosie Blackman, and they could sense how worried I was, and they didn't say it, but in the middle of the night, they got a truck and a trailer together, and they drove down to this hotel I was at. And at 4 a.m., they knock on the door and wake me up. You're
probably like, what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah.
Hearing that knock.
Yeah, and thank God they did, because then we go out to start the truck. The battery didn't even work. Battery's dead. So I don't know what I would have done without them. So that was a big moment in my life, and they're lifelong friends because of it. And one of them, Rosie, actually lost his job that day because he skipped work to come save me. So
wow.
That's
those
one
are
of my
true
coolest
friends.
stories I like to tell.
Yeah, I had a similar story where I broke down, and it was something small, but it was in the middle of the night, and I had some friends come. They drove over and they helped, and it wasn't as dramatic as kind of what you were dealing with, but it was one of those where you kind of go, man, like you really are thankful for your friends, and some people don't remain friends their whole life, and other things happen and whatever, but I look back on those type of moments and go, yo, man, I mean, it means a lot. And you got to think like, no disrespect to any shops and stuff, but it's like, especially in that era, people didn't have full-size rigs and trailers and stuff. So, you really relied upon a shop to do some solid work. And if they knew that you were going to be driving an hour, let alone 8 or 10 hours or whatever it is, you would hope that they would kind of go that extra mile to make sure everything is rock solid, or say, hey, here's my number, if you have an issue kind of coming home. But, regardless of that, you were able to make it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it was the early days. Like I said, that airbag cantilever setup, it was ahead of its time, So, I don't blame them for the issues. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was the early days. I mean, they're working out of a home shop, so it is what it is. It all worked out, and made it back okay.
Yeah, real deal. So, I mean, all these years kind of go by, right? You still got the Nissan Hardbody. I have seen a couple photos on Facebook where, you have been working on it and things like that. Do you start to kind of get the confidence that, do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Or is it kind of just one of those side deals where, like, it's going to get done when it gets done?
No, we see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Good buddy of mine here in Little Rock, he's helped me out. He's got a shop that he's got all the tools and everything. His name's Gary Bundy Lynn, and he's helped me out tremendously with the Nissan. But we think this winter we may have it put back together and start throwing some paint on it.
Dude, I'm happy for you. I do see in some of the photos, going to give a shout out to Southeast Mini Truckin Nats. We mentioned them earlier. You got the Mini Nats banners, and you got the OLP banners kind of looking down. You got some good ones there. And one thing that I've noticed, too, and we established at the beginning, having met you at 3 shows, you're also a guy that says, "Hey, I want to go to some shows, maybe get some inspiration, meet the homies, and walk around." So like I've seen you travel in the shows and stuff, and that's really cool that you support the scene as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as fun when you don't have a ride in the show, and I've gone too many years without having a ride in the show. But me and my buddies, we usually try to pick one or two big shows a year to go to. And in fact, this year is the first year we actually we booked an air flight to go to a show. Unfortunately, that show got canceled.
Yeah, Vegas, was it?
Yep. Yeah, we went to Vegas, and after we had everything booked, it canceled. And
you were like, shit, so you still went, right?
Oh yeah, we still went and had a great time, but didn't look at mini trucks, but that's all right. So we didn't get our big show in this year, really. That was supposed to be it.
But you didn't cop out. You still had an A+ for effort. Yeah, and we hated that the show got pushed out. Got basically canceled. So we're hoping for the future we'll see that back. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's cool that you got a chance to get out a little bit and go to shows whether you're driving or flying. I think that's an awesome thing. Oh yeah, we try to support where I can. Going to shows, supporting the businesses best I can. What I do for my day job, I'm not in the mini trucking business, but however, I do support mini trucking businesses best I can, even from my own business. I manage a third-party logistic office here in Little Rock, and we move freight around the world for all sorts of different customers. Wow.
And some of the things I do to support mini trucking, I've got, let's see, I've Rowan Concepts, I'm sure.
Yep.
Bought a couple renderings from him for my businesses. We have we have a marketing truck that we use and we take around. So, it wasn't a mini truck, but I was happy to support him and have him do a rendering for my company.
Hell
marketing ride. Gooch. I'm sure you know Gooch.
Oh yeah.
Every one of my employees on their first year anniversary, they get a custom Gooch cup of their choice. Any design they want, and he knocks it out of the park for them.
Badass.
My office signs, I've got 2 custom office signs, one made by Zerati Steel.
Very
and then,
cool.
And then maybe not as much mini trucking, but he is in the custom scene. Benson Custom Upholstery he's a young kid out of Iowa that I like his work and wanted to support him. And he made a bead rolled sign for us too. So I don't know. I do what I can to support. I do what I can to support, even though I'm not, entering the trucks and the shows at the moment, but of course, I listen to OLP, buy some OLP swag when I can. Hammered Weekend Wear always has the goods. The OGs like Drop 'em Wear. I'd buy stuff from them every once in a while.
Yep.
Grant Fabs, a lot of my stuff on my Nissan and my current and my newest project I haven't brought up yet. Got from Grant Fabs. I support Low Yoda and his shirts that he puts together. DJ Mays, I like listen to him on Twitch.
Hell yeah, you're down.
I'm not a Twitch guy, that is the only thing I get on there for, but I go on there.
Same.
Listen to the music every once in a while.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And, and that's what we've established, it's great to go hard in the paint and do this, but, sometimes even when I'm like, hey, I'm going to back down from some shows, someone will be like, yo, man, I thought we're going to keep the pedal stomped. And it's like, we do, but, you got to balance it. Sometimes it might be, punching out a punch list on a mini. Or helping, I went to my buddy's, he's a no regrets guy, lives in Land O'Lakes where I grew up, went there the other day and kind of helped him, When I get the phone call and somebody goes, yo, I need some help, hey, let's go, let's do it, So, supporting the scene, I think, especially as we get into our 40s, really means a lot of different things. I mean, sure, it's going to shows, it's trying to get a ride there, but there's other facets of it that we've kind of established there, but moving ahead a little bit here with the OBS trucks. So I've caught wind that you might have an OBS, and those are, of course, just the interest on those trucks is like really peaking right now. Talk to us a little bit about it if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't really made it public or anything other than a couple of close friends. But I guess when you're on OLP, you make the announcement.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
I picked up a pretty cool project. Have you heard of S&R Designs? You know those guys?
I don't know if I've heard of S&R Designs.
S&R Designs. You need to hear about them. Steven Anderson and Ryan Kidd. they're the S&R behind S&R Designs, and they're the names behind some big paint jobs that came out this year. You know Ka-Chow, don't you?
Yeah. Okay.
Showman's Ka-Chow. They
Yep.
painted it. They also painted a couple other big time new
Bills.
body style Chevys that came out of like Oklahoma area, but they're like Team Billet and another red one. I'm on the gas, but they're winning best of paints at a lot of big shows around the area. So
yeah, I know those. I know those trucks. Yeah, man.
They're kind of hooked up with the Fat Fab guys. They're
Yep.
they're doing some of the paint jobs on projects coming out of Fat Fab. So what's coming out of there is good stuff.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, I picked up a project from Steven over at S&R Designs that it's funny. It's a 2-door 98 Tahoe, and he's had it about 5 different times. He gets rid of it. It comes back to him somehow, he says, and this last go around, he put it out there for sale, and I said, man, I'm really interested. I've always loved it, but if I buy this thing, you're not getting it back again. And he said, please, just take it off. I mean, so I got this 98 Tahoe 2-door off of him. He bagged and bodied it, and it's painted Calypso green like your boy Riggedy Ron Perkins.
Yes.
His Ram.
Yep. Aqua
Yep.
fresh.
Same exact color, and it's got a few things that need to be done to it, but it has a mostly completed leather interior. I got to finish the seats. I got to do a little bit on the dash, but it's something I picked up because I'd say it's about 80% done.
Okay.
And I love it, and I'm gonna slap this together as fast as I can. And have some fun with it, and then get back to finishing the Nissan. But
yeah, you kind of
really
need that
project.
sometimes. Yeah, man, and I'm happy for you. You kind of need that little bit of a. I don't want to say it's not a distraction, but it kind of is. You kind of go, listen, I got this truck that needs a lot. I can get something over here. I've learned some stuff. I can have some fun. I can get this. I can start cruising this. So very cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty nice. So. I'm excited to get it put together.
Yeah, that whole we could do a whole episode on just talking about Oklahoma. I can't name all the trucks, but there's a lot of guys. There's some shops. I mean, back in the day, there was a green 2-door Tahoe that was featured. I think it was on the cover of Sport Truck, one of the baddest built, and it came out of that area, and it was like a greenish color, and if I remember correctly, it recently reappeared at a show. There was the lower level guys. I think a lot of them were out there. Of course, Charles Armstrong and stuff. But you think about the history there. I mean, there's so much. There was the van, the green van, the Astro van,
Slime one, yeah.
Yeah, there
Vanthrax.
Vanthrax. Thank you. Yep,
Yeah.
Vanthrax. We saw that
by the kid also
at Showfest. Yep, there you go. I mean, a lot of kind of rich history of minis there, but. When you said Tahoe 2-door, I mean, those are super, people say they're kind of getting rare, and we've heard that for a long time. Those are kind of like almost like a unicorn, right, for those OBS trucks. There was, of course, the regular or the crew cab, short beds. Those are a Centurion, I think. Those are super rare, but I'll tell you, those 2-door Tahoes, I think they're going to continue to go up in value.
Yeah, I mean, that's not why I bought it, but I think you're right. They're highly sought after, and but yeah, I just love it and look forward to having fun with it. But yeah, for some reason, I don't know how it happened or why it happened, but outside of California, I felt like growing up in it, for whatever reason, Oklahoma and maybe even Texas, I guess, felt like that was like the second biggest, mecca of mini trucking outside of California to me, just, looking at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of guys, like we just said, like you start throwing names out there and you're like, oh, yeah, lower level. Oh, yeah, this.
Yeah.
And subculture and some of the guys there and what. But
first big show I went to was Lower Level 3, Grand Lake, Oklahoma. That was a heck of a show, heck of a party. That's where I first met one of your previous
guests,
Ronnie Armstrong from NC. I met him there, and he kind of took me under his wing at that show, and I was just like a 15, 16-year-old kid, I guess, and and we had a lot of fun, and we've been friends ever since then. That was a good time.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find a better dude, well respected, just a good family guy. And I wanted to thank you too, because after we had Ronnie on, I thought about this earlier. You were feeding us photos, So again, Mark, we can't thank you enough for being a listener supporter, true mini trucker, but also kind of always looking out, saying, "Yo, Jay, here's this Nissan, man. Post this one. Check it out if you need it, bro." So thanks for always having our back.
Oh yeah, anytime. Happy to help.
Now we're excited about the OBS. We're excited about the Nissan Hardbody. We've kind of threw around some names, maybe some old clubs in and around that area you have as well. But I mentioned a guy named Charles Armstrong. Now, a little birdie had told me, was there a little bit of a connection back in the day when he was gallivanting across the country?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't buddies directly with him or anything, but one year on the way to Show Fest, Charles and Time Machine stayed at my house in Little Rock for the night on the way to Show Fest. He knew my roommate a little bit at the time, and that's why he stayed there. But I'll tell you what, that's pretty cool having Charles and Time Machine's my all-time favorite Mini. I know that could be debated all day.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of
so sick.
It's definitely one of them. And I think because of Oklahoma ties, it's probably my all-time favorite. But, yeah, it's pretty cool that Charles and Time Machine stayed at my house that one night on the way to Show Fest. And he ended up doing a little mural on the garage wall for us that he made in like 2 minutes out of a couple spray cans. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. And that, you think about how we used to kind of communicate back in those days, a little bit of street scene, a little bit of sport truck, kind of get into the cell phone era. When we debuted our Time Machine, right? So Charles Armstrong's truck, we partnered with him. We came up with this concept that he hadn't seen it, but he loved the idea. So we launched it at Mini Nats this year. Again, thanks to Jason Bell and team. Just love that show every April in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. But then, people start telling us, yo, man, I remember back in 2002. And sure enough, because we knew, having talked to Charles, I remember when Charles Armstrong brought this truck in back in 2002, and really it got debuted there when it was done, right, at Mini Nats. But, of course, I like I told him, I must have picked the right shows back in that era. I was fortunate to travel a little bit, but being able to see it, like, not at Mini Nats, but at Show Fest and Indy Truck Bash, and he took it to the same shows kind of I was going to. Now, I never went to Slamboree. He had it there that year. But, it's pretty cool that you got that little bit of a connection there. Charles, I've got a chance to know him, call him a friend. I mean, he's just a great guy.
Oh, yeah. And, very talented for sure. And had such a history of the Oklahoma custom mini truck scene, all the paint jobs he had come out of there.
Oh, yeah. And I remember my friend, shout out to Matt Torgerson, he did a lot of our stuff in the early days, and he just, a real solid fabricator, loves bag and body in, and he's in the Cadillacs now. He, on his toolbox back in the day, I remember he had, it was like a cutout, I think, from Truckin'. And, because Lance had forged that relationship with Charles, they would, I'm sure, he would submit little renderings or doodles or whatever, and there was a cool one of, I think, him spraying or something. He had a spray gun in his hand and stuff. And you've heard me say this on the podcast, like, I can't draw barely a stick figure. So when you see people like that could take a spray can or a spray gun and then or draw something, it's beyond amazing to me because, like I said, I can't do any of it.
Yeah, no, same here. My daughter can. She's a pretty good artist for being a 14-year-old ninth grader, but she didn't get that from me.
Yeah, give her and the fam a shout out, man.
Oh, well, yeah. Obviously, I couldn't do this mini trucking thing and all the late nights at the shops, working on things. Just this past weekend, I was at my buddy's shop I mentioned earlier, Gary Bundy Lynn. We're working on a 36 truck that he was finishing up, and I was there till 5 a.m. in the morning helping him hang fenders up. And couldn't do it without my family, my wife, Heather, my daughter, Ella. Ella's working on she's got a 2006 TDI Volkswagen new Beetle diesel turbo that, that's gonna be her first ride that she's gonna start practicing on.
Heck yeah,
But,
she doesn't even know it. She's going after Mike Murray, man. He needs to swap his engine or something, man. Come on.
Yeah, she's not. She wanted a Beetle, so I can get down behind that. So we're gonna have fun, get that Ford going a little bit. It's being built right now a little bit. Put a new turbo on at 922 Automotive in North Little Rock.
Awesome, dude. There you go, proud papa, right?
Oh yeah. I hope that I hope she gets a little bit of the customizing bug, but she's a 14-year-old teenager and pretty much goes against anything that I'm for. So as of now, she's acting like she's not really into anything, but she does like Beetles, which I think are cool too. So at least we got that going.
Yeah, real deal, man. That's freaking awesome. So the other thing I thought about is you and I talked one time, and you mentioned, so back in the day, IF. So we've had Kerry Iacino on, and when they had IF Customs for all those years, they did have 2 years. I always forget if it was 03, 04, 04, 05, kind of in that era. Might have been 02, 03. But they had the 2 years-ish that they gallivanted across the country, right? And I remember on their website, they'd put the map on there, and they'd say, hey, hit us up if you live in this area and stuff. But you guys had a little bit of a connection in your town to that cruise, right?
Oh, yeah. That was a pretty epic night. We reached out to IF Customs, old Kerry out there. At the time, they were, one of the baddest shops in the country. We heard about this cruise thing. I'm sure we heard about it from Street Source or Street Scene, whatever it's called at the time. Reached out and said, hey, man, if you want to make a stop in Salas, Oklahoma, because it was right on the route, we put together a cruise night with the city and a little bit of a show, and we coordinated with them, and we put together a cruise on it was who put the cruise midweek, but we put a cruise together on a Thursday night. The city was it was going crazy that night. Everyone wanted to see these awesome trucks coming out from California. We gave out some awards. We would randomly pull up the people at the cruise, give out some awards, and we had a award ceremony like 10 o'clock that night or something, and gave out some giveaways. I mean, we had stuff from back. I mean, this is a long time ago. I remember Drop and Wear gave us some shirts to hand out. So it was pretty cool that they supported us on that, and it was just an epic night. Everyone had a blast, and then the next day when everyone got up, we ended up driving all the way to Show Fest. I drove my buddy's Ranger, and I got pictured in Street Trucks from that article.
Really?
That's pretty cool. Lee Smith's Ranger. We called it Stranger, of course. There's other strangers out there, but that was pretty cool. Getting pictured in Street Trucks for that. But that was a fun time. That was a fun time for sure. And one of my all-time favorite Mini Truckin shirts was the IF Cruise shirt, where it had the map on the back.
Yes.
And that you probably know the name of it. That lime green Pro Street truck they had was on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that truck, and that's the one Kerry had given me some video from it, and I had shared it not too long ago. Shout out to IF, IF, but also the Down to Earth guys as well. But that truck, was a husband and wife truck, and that thing is just insane, dude. Yeah, so that was Lewis Martin and his wife. So they own that truck, and I wanted he's LMARTON55 on Instagram. That's one of my favorite trucks of all time. Courtney shot it. And I was so lucky. I think his wife's name was Megan. I was lucky that Kerry had a video of it from the day of the photo shoot, and they shot it on 8/25/99. And literally, he had a video camera with him, and we had dragging footage of it. And I thought to myself, man, like, how lucky are we that people had video cameras? Not everybody did in that era, So shout out to Down the Earth and IF and all those guys, good people, man.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool shirt. I do remember some of that stuff. Yeah, it's crazy kind of going down memory lane, right? And thinking back. And that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, because, you think about all this stuff, right? The history, a lot of guys have given us credit. Hey, you're trying to keep the history alive. Absolutely. The magazines have done it for a long time. And, there was kind of a new era that's come in with the VHS tapes, the DVD. I don't know about so much VHS, but mostly like DVDs and then the websites. And it's weird how the scene kind of evolves, right? And now we're at a point where a lot of it's YouTube, some of it's social media, of course, and podcasting, right? So it is pretty cool.
You mentioned the DVDs. My Nissan, which by the way, my Nissan's name is For Your Eyes, YOUR, the letter IZ. That was just a license plate I had back in the day, and I just kind of stuck with it. But my Nissan's in the first Flat Out DVD from the show coverage of a truck show in Mesquite, Texas that Ronnie put together.
Yes, dude, that's cool. That's an epic issue, or first copy as well.
Yeah,
that's badass. So the other thing I was thinking about was I wanted to hit upon before I see if there's anything else that you have. You have been buckling down on your Mini Truckin Magazine collection. Can you talk to us? I know you mentioned you had been reading back in the 90s like many of us did. Just kind of talk to us a little bit about your journey there.
Yeah, so just like most people listening to this podcast, you probably collected Mini Truckin magazines at one time. I started, I guess, when I first got into it in 95, 96, somewhere around there. I remember pulling out the mini posters, put them on my wall, as a teenager growing up. And then one year moving, going probably around 05, I remember just, I'm moving and we're throwing out a bunch of stuff and my collection just decided it was time to get rid of it and just, put it in the dumpster before moving. And I almost immediately regretted that. And so, years later, I don't know, I guess I got the itch maybe a couple of years ago or a year or two ago. And just felt like I wanted to go back and kind of relive the memories and try to build a Mini Truckin magazine collection. So I started picking some off. I guess the first one I picked off probably was Ballistic. And I got that one off of Thomas Cardinal, who, he's one of the big Mini Truckin collectors, and he's the one that put together the autograph cover collection.
Yes, yep.
Yep,
I know
so,
Thomas.
I don't know, on some Facebook page, he had it up there for sale or something, and I just kind of jumped at him like, man, that'd be a pretty cool one to have, the, Ballistic. So, sure. And, Ballistic, that's like a 93, somewhere around there.
Yeah, January 93.
Yeah, which is before when I ever started collecting. So then I'm like, I got this old one. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. So I kind of want to start collecting the oldest ones first. So I've been focused on the 90s and 88 and 89. And so I bought a few off of Thomas. I've gotten some off of eBay. One of the coolest one, of course, I picked up off of eBay, of course, is the number one issue. And I got really lucky with that one. I got it at a decent price for what they're going for out there. But what's really cool about the issue I picked off is I happened to buy it from the original managing editor of Mini Truckin Magazine. His name is Larry Savadra.
Yep. Okay.
And he tells me he was the actual photographer on the cover truck. So that's really cool. I feel like picking up the number one issue off of the person that took that photograph.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I'm sure back then we've kind of established with some of our YouTube content, as you've seen, that maybe people weren't credited correctly. I mean, we just don't. But so that's cool that he had reinforced that to you, and that one's a tough one to get. So when you kind of get it, you kind of go, man, okay, everything at this point is doable, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely the hardest one. I would say I've got so that's the only one from 1988 that was ever made. Then there's 4 from 1989. I've now got 2 of the 4 from 1989. I've got most of 90, and then I think I've got all of 91, 92, 93, and up. And then shout out to my nephew Aaron Fleetwood, who also was a mini trucker there for a while back in the day. At my last family gathering, since he knew I was kind of putting a collection together, he put his whole collection of all of his trucking magazines together, which there's mini trucking, sport trucks, street trucks, tailgates, I think, in there. And he gave me a big tub of them, and they're all kind of like the mid 2000s to 2010, I'd say. So like that'll take care of a lot of that part of the collection. So I feel like I got to put a little more effort into cataloging them. I've been bagging them and put them in cardboard and bagging them, keep them nice. But I'm due for another checkup on what I got left. But I'm getting pretty close now, and I think I'm the tough ones to get.
Yeah, if you're out there and you've got some you want to either contribute and donate or potentially offload some way, form, or fashion, hit up Mark Zitzer, Z-I-T-Z-E-R. And, I tell you what, I wouldn't have ever got my collection together if it wasn't for fine people looking out or saying, hey, yo, I got your back. I've still got one. I got to get up to Phil Fowler. Shout out to Phil. Good dude. So, it takes some trading. It takes some horse trading, some networking, as you know, and we're excited for you, man.
Yeah, no, it's been kind of cool and fun. And, now that I've been doing this mini trucking thing for half my life, I guess, it's pretty cool looking at those old magazines and seeing some names I know about now. Like, your guy, Ruben DeBucca, right?
Oh, yeah.
I ran across his truck from whatever year it was, and I sent that picture to you the other day, and I thought stuff like that's really cool. And then when I ran across Cox's feature, I got to look at.
Yep.
I never saw the feature before, and it was pretty cool to check it out. And I really like looking at the history of some of that stuff. Some of the tech articles. One of the things we did on my Nissan that we did was my friend Bundy. He remembered an article of shaving the rear of the cab. It's a part of the truck that will never be seen. The rear of the cab. We shaved the front of the bed and the rear of the cab. But there was a tech article that he remembered about shaving the back of the cab, and so we did it just as he remembered doing it. And then as I was going through my old mini truckings I've been collecting, I ran across that article, and I got to send it to him, and he thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and for me, like you said, it's like going back, seeing some of the names, some you kind of knew, like then you're going, wow, the Michael Coxes, the Radars, some of these guys that had, very cool trucks. Some were on the cover, some were featured. I mean, you name it, but it is very, very cool. They're, it's kind of like a hobby, right? Let's be honest, collecting these magazines, and some people think it's crazy and this and that, but, for us to be able to share what we've done kind of through YouTube, we want to inspire people like, hey, if it brings you good memories, dude, go out and do it. That's the kind of thing I'm all about. If you've got the change to be able to go out and do something and it brings you joy or it brings you back those good memories, it's like, dude, go all in. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, go all in like Hank on a Friday night, twisting his hat around if he was in the movie Over the Top. You know what I mean? And he was going, because that's the one thing the guys don't know, Mark. Like Hank is really big into arm wrestling. You know what I mean? And he wants to bring that back. I know in some states it's a big thing, but if he can bring that back to the forefront, he's kind of going. He's trying to talk to Jay Bell. I'm not supposed to talk about this, but he's trying to get like an arm wrestling deal going at Mini Nats next year. And I'm like, I don't know if people are going to be into that.
Oh. Hank's putting together an arm wrestling at Mini Nats?
Yeah, and he's telling people you can't bet on it, but you know damn well they're going to be around the backside throwing numbers and stuff,
Oh, yeah. I once got a picture with Hank. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, dude. Here's the thing. He talks a big game like on the weekends and nights, but it shows he does kind of calm down. He doesn't say a lot, does he?
He's a quiet guy at times, for sure.
Yeah, he definitely is. Now, a minute ago, I think I maybe jogged your memory, so I wanted to see if there was anything else. We've talked about a lot of cool stuff from the Hardbody, from the Mazda Cab Plus to the Hardbody. Now you got your hands a little bit in an OBS, which I love. And some other cool stuff, including your magazine kind of collection that you're thinking about. You've given a lot of shout out to the homies and whatnot. But, you've been a great fan of the podcast. I can't thank you enough. But you've also been just a hardcore mini trucker. Is there anything else maybe that we didn't touch on, Mark, that you could think and go, yo, man, I want to bring this up?
Oh, I mean, nothing too important. I do also have a '59 Chevy Ballard. It's just nice and patinaed and sitting in the weeds. But so that's my full collection there.
Dude, that's great, man. There's nothing like a classic car. Do you have a lot of work to do on it, or is it a cruiser?
Yeah, it's not drivable at the moment. Let's say that, but it has a cool patina look, and the goal was to just make it a nice, safe, cruiser. Leave the outside the way it is. It has a really nice patina. But since I just picked up the Tahoe project, it's third in line now, and I don't know if I'll get to it. So it's just a 4-door. So, I don't know if I'll get onto this 59 project or not. I'd like to someday, but I'm not sure I'll get there.
Well, we could do a whole episode on 59s. I got a chance when I was out at Cruising for a Cure in Cali at the event. I linked up with a buddy, Josh, and he has a 59 Impala. Now, he's had a couple Lincolns, and they've sold over to Dubai. And then he's had a badass C10 that was featured, kind of under construction, blood, sweat, and gears. But, he's always kind of he's done a really good job at leveling up the rungs, right, to something that he really, really wants. He had a green hardtop 59 Impala, and then he was able to either sell or horse trade to get this white one that he's got now with red interior. But I say all that, right, the long story of it, 59 is like a year of its own. And I watched
it's the year of the designers.
Yeah, it is. And I watched a cool thing recently on YouTube that talked about, how they worked in 3-year cycles, and like around 56, one of these guys went to one of the other, they went to, I don't know if it was Dodge or where they went, and they saw what they were doing. So that's like where 59 just really changed. And it's just a year of its own, the year of the designers, like you said.
I agree. Yeah, they the engineers didn't have a chance that cycle.
I know, right?
It was all about those wings, man.
Dude, I tell you what, and whether it's an Impala or a lot of guys love the Invictus, dude. It's just crazy, man, how awesome those things are. Now, we're talking with Mark Zitzer. Mark, on Instagram, if I go out there, it's Mark _ your last name, ZITZER. You can go out there and follow, see some of the cool photos with the Mini Truckin Magazine first issue and other stuff. You got the Mini Truckin tattoo, so I think that's a little bit unique. I wanted to make sure. Now, that's not a temporary one like Mike's trying to sneak one on his face, is it?
Yeah,
I thought so.
My daughter drew that one on me.
Yeah,
that ain't real.
Yeah, I told Mike to get one, so when he went out one night, this is months ago, he did a tattoo on his face, and he tried to say it was legit, so then I was going to get one, but really his was a temporary one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to pull one over, but yeah, man, dude, it's been really cool getting to know you a little bit more and hearing some of the backstory, and we hope that, as we kind of get sideways into 2023, that we'll maybe see you at a show here or there. And, we wish you all the success with the rides, dude. You got a lot going on. You got the family that you're, of course, holding down. But, we wish you all the success for sure, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. If anyone out there listening is in the freight industry, I work for Allen Lund Company out of Little Rock. Manage the Little Rock office. We move freight around the world for all sorts of shippers and carriers. If we can help you, feel free to reach out. Instagram, Mark _ Zitzer. Not a whole bunch out there. A little bit of trucks, but you'll also see some of my custom cakes I make. I make a lot of custom cakes, and that's about it. That's me. That's me in a nutshell. Not a whole bunch there.
Hell yeah, brother! Remember in Back to the Future 2 when he's the old Biff is trying to warn the young Biff, like if a guy ever shows up here. And, whatever you do, just take what he's given you or kill him, right? He ends up killing the guy. But anyways, the reason why I say all that is if Hank ever tries to get with you about shipping some stuff, to, South America, just be careful. You know what I'm saying? I'm just looking out for you.
Oh, yeah. No, we're very careful with how we do our business for sure.
Right.
We're totally legit.
Yeah. Illegal, right? Not illegal.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Mark, dude, it's always a pleasure, my friend, and my brother, and just a huge supporter of OLP. We can't thank you enough. Like I said, I had a blast, and keep us in the loop of how the projects go, on social media and stuff. And maybe once we get to the point of, you debuting the Nissan and stuff, I'd love to be there or love to see it, man.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Looking forward to debuting both the Tahoe and For Your Eyes Nissan next year.
Can't wait, brother. Stay on the rise. When we out you, we'll hit you next week, Lord willing, with another episode. Get sideways in the weekend, but keep it legal.